You are now listening to the Pelicans post-game report. Flash report.
For all things Pelicans, you're now tuned into the Pelican post-game report. We up in this thing. Shout out to the fan. Appreciate you representing PPR to the fullest. Pel Nation stand up. In this episode of PPR, I'm Big Q. We're going to go over some kind of a preseason or a regular season, off-season rather. Just trying to get to the season, get some winning basketball for once in a while. The breakdown on the New Orleans Pelicans. We did one previously. We kind of doing a series later on this afternoon. We'll have a fuller episode of PPR. We'll kind of open up the phone lines and solicit thoughts from the diehard faithful about their thoughts on the direction of the Pelicans and what possibly Joe Dumars could be doing for the Pels. What will he do to change it? Now, obviously, we covered it on PPR. We talked about it ad nauseum, the fact that the Zion Williamson trade, stop it. Zion Williamson is not going anywhere. We said that at the time. We said that if you trade Zion Williamson, you would have to literally disintegrate this team. I mean, he's the center, he's the fulcrum, the centerpiece of the team. Everybody's here because of Zion Williamson's gravity and his ability. They are all situated around him. It's basically, in solar system terms, he's the sun, and all of these other people are moons and comets or whatever you want to call them, circulating around Zion Williamson. If you remove him, it implodes. You have to basically wipe away and start again. So Zion Williamson's not going anywhere. We talked about that. They showed you during the lottery show where Zion represented the Pelicans there. Kind of a, if you didn't get it, moment. That is without them saying it, that they're definitely committing to Zion Williamson. And being that we've seen pictures of him with Akeem Olajuwon, I think that's terrific. Him chilling and being more involved with the Pelicans team. I think that's being that he's literally the face of the team. Him being in the best shape of his basketball pro career will definitely help the Pelicans moving forward. But we also have to make sure everything else fits around him as well. This is a breakdown from Sean, I think the man's name is Marks from ESPN. This is what his thought process is about the New Orleans Pelicans. And then, of course, we'll look at the depth chart as well. Now, the previous record, 21-61 for the Pelicans this past season, very disgusting. But outside of that, draft picks coming up in June for the draft, number 7th is what the Pelicans own. No second-round picks, no extra first, just the 7th this year. The free agents, Brandon Boston, right? Bruce Brown and Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, Keon Brooks are guys that's listed as free agents. Some of them are listed as restricted guys. Jamal Cain's restricted. Elfrid Payton, you can see right there. State of the roster. Pelicans were last year's versions of the Grizzlies, projected to win 43 games and contend for a top 6 seed. The Pelicans were besieged by injuries from the start of the season, also by poor head coaching. They never seemed to add that in there. At one point, the Pelicans lost Murray, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, Zion, and Jose Alvarado for significant, in some cases, season-ending injuries. And the trio of Ingram, Murray, and Williamson never stepped on the court together. Only 3 players on the roster, C.J. McCollum, Yves Missi, and Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, played more than 60 games. So that's telling within itself, right? And also you hear people talking about they blaming the failure of the team, and particularly this year on Zion Williamson. But don't negate to talk about all these other guys that missed all this time. He wasn't the only guy that was banged up. And even if he played 80-something games last year, he would have to basically carry the team by himself with all these other guys hurt. So, I mean, add everything into it, the bad coaching, injuries as well. The injuries resulted in New Orleans starting 47 different lineups and winning its fewest games since 2011-2012. The roller coaster of a season resulted in the firing of general manager VP David Griffin and leaves the fate of head coach Willie Green as unclear. Since taking over in 2019, New Orleans has reached the postseason only twice under Griffin. The whole situation is, new man comes in, he brings his own staff. We've seen a lot of guys from the previous regime. It's an exodus out of town. Swin Cash, one of our favorites, she's no longer here, and several other people that were up there in the administration, gone. New guys here with Joe Dumars coming here. You hear Troy Weaver here and others coming into the fold. They have their own philosophy. They're bringing their own people in here. That has to include a coach. Now, even though we've seen Willie Green sitting in the corner of the draft room looking like a little boy punished during the NFL draft for the New Orleans Saints, that does not necessarily indicate that the Pelicans are committed to keep Willie Green as the head coach. We know Gail Benson is doing the same stuff that she did several years ago when she hired David Griffin on. She told him to keep Elvin Gentry for 1 year, and ultimately he got fired. The same stuff she's doing with Willie Green because he's such a nice man. That kind of dumb stuff. But at the end of the day, that does not mean that he would stay as the head coach. Perhaps we heard rumors, and I say it again, that they could elevate Willie into the administration in some type of capacity, which would work for me just as long as he's not head coaching this team anymore, right? So we'll continue to watch that until we get a firmer destination or designation or word on what happens with Willie Green. Does he keep him or whatnot? You see, we'll have to wait and see. The silver lining, the Pelicans were at a top 7 pick for the first time since Williamson was selected first overall in 2019. As a returning roster, New Orleans has 12 players under contract, and health again will play a pivotal role. Now, y'all know my stance on the injury, the invisible injury monster, but it's also the Pelicans have to also do better in adding technology and better doctors to the health staff. Injuries will continue to be here unless you do what is necessary to fix the health staff. I am currently have not had any information, or I've been researching it. They have done nothing new right now, and it's still early on in the off season, but they have not done anything to the health staff. Let that resonate before we start talking about they must remain healthy. This is something that's been plaguing the Pelicans for years, and this is something that for a great deal, if they take seriously, they could fix if they look at what the problem is and stop being so blind to it. We keep telling them over and over again, right? So anyway, the second most used lineup of Murray, McCollum, Murphy, Williamson, and Messi, plus a plus minus of 13 points, 0.7 points per 100 possessions. 3 of those players, McCollum, Murphy, and Jones, had season-ending injuries. McCollum, Murphy, Jones. Now, we know they shut McCollum down later on in the season. A lot of people felt that he could play, but the Pelicans was attempting to lose games to get a better roster spot. That didn't work, right? But in the end, Herb and all these other guys they went down as well. Now, the off-season finances line up like this. For now, the Ingram trade gives New Orleans some flexibility below the luxury tax for the upcoming season, including their lottery pick and 12 players under contract. Now, the Pelicans are $5 million below the tax. If the goal is to bring back free agent guard Bruce Brown to a contract greater than $5 million and remain below the tax, the Pelicans will need to shed some salary. The Pelicans have the $14.1 million non-tax mid-level exception that they can use. However, using then the $5.6 million will trigger the first apron, which they then currently at $9.2 million below. Now, the Pelicans have 3 trade exceptions, $13 million, 9.9, and 2.1, but are currently hard capped at the first apron and cannot take back more than $5.7 million in salary. The first apron restriction expires on June the 30th. So what is the top priority for the Pelicans? The front office priority. The priority continues to be Zion Williamson. Whether there's trust from the Pelicans' new front office to continue to build the roster around him. Williamson has played in 46% of his regular season games since being drafted #1 back in 2019. He's never appeared in the playoffs. That's crazy work. Just think about that. If New Orleans stays the course, will 30 games Williamson did play this season serve as a blueprint to follow to build this roster? Now, when he's at high level conditioning like he is, he's really tough to guard, and he's doing it. This was Coach Willie said back in February. He's rebounding, he's defending. Williamson is the only player since January of 2025 that averaged almost 26 points on 61% shooting, and second half surge that included first 2 triple doubles of his career and a season high 37 points against LA, the Lakers. Now, Williamson's $39.4 million contract, which just under $8 million of it is protected for the next season, is guaranteed on July the 15th. Now, the following 2 seasons at 42.2 and then almost 45 million remain non-guaranteed contract. So how did the Pelicans handle that? We'll watch. Now, the extensions candidates to watch. McCollums could be a free agent this upcoming offseason for the first time in his career. If the extension is not reached, the 13-year veteran guard turns 34 in September and is eligible to sign a 3-year, $139.1 million extension. It won't happen, Captain. Williamson is eligible to extend for an additional 2 years at $128.4. Now, for New Orleans to extend that contract, the remaining 3 years of the original contract would need to be guaranteed. Then other candidates to be extension eligible is also Herb Jones. Now, the team needs, besides the health staff, New Orleans needs an identity on defense. The Pelicans had the lowest defensive rating percentage this season and gave up the second most points in the paint. This is not good. That's why a lot of people, including DC, shout out to him, is asking for the opportunity to kind of have a defensive presence. The big center from Duke is what they're asking for, to have more of a presence there. The Pelicans ranked last in defensive efficiency, last in transition defense, and 29th in rim protection this season. And having a big center there, you know, like the kid from Duke or Queen or any of these other guys, it would definitely help the weak defense. But is that a product of what is bad coaching with Willie Green, who's supposed to be defensive orientated? His staff, him not being able to get the defense to not buy in, but get them to understand his principles consistently. Because if a good team that's smart and that passes the ball will eat the Pelicans for lunch, man. You know, backdoor cuts and passes, they get confused on helping out help defense. They overcommit, they unbalance the floor. They do all of the stuff that all you have to do is know how to move the ball, and they get confused on their own. They switch out into bad switches all the time. They're not very intelligent, and it shows. Now, the draft assets, New Orleans owns all of its first round picks. From the Ingram trade, the Pelicans have the 27 top 4 protected first round from Indiana. That is a top 4 protected in 28. If not conveyed the prior year, they will send the most favorable of their own or the Milwaukee to Atlanta in 2027. That is a top 5 protected pick. Now, the Pelicans also have the right to swap picks in 26 with Milwaukee. In total, the Pelicans have 6 firsts and 4 seconds available to trade. That's a lot of draft capital accumulated over some time. The Pelicans ultimately could use some of this capital to move in the direction of, instead of drafting, to find somebody to basically the draft, as opposed to just going to get a veteran to bring in here to pair with Zion Williamson to help elevate the Pelicans. There's a lot of talk going on with the Giannis situation with him. We'll just continue to monitor that. But like I said, what's the game plan in terms of what Joe Dumars is going to do? What is his idea of fixing the team or changing around the team, and what he's going to do? Any trade or any thought process dealing with the New Orleans Pelicans have to involve, first and foremost, who's going to be the coach. I think a lot of stuff could be fixed there. The two biggest concerns that a lot of the faithful has is who's the coach of the Pelicans. It shouldn't be Willie Green. He lost his team. He's had 4 years. We kind of hit a glass ceiling, so to speak, with Willie Green, and we need to find somebody else. And they got a bunch of coaches out in the coaching cycle that are credentialed. Some of these guys got championship rings or a ring, and a lot of these guys have had a lot of success, more so than what we currently have. Now, if you want to step that game up, you might want to go look at these other candidates here, and Joe Dumars should be afforded the opportunity if he's going to turn the Pelicans around. This could be and should be a 1-year turnaround, just like we've seen what happened to Detroit. Where Detroit was the worst team last year, and they turned around in 1 season with Trajan Langdon, and the team went to the playoffs on 1-year turnaround. The Pistons. That is possible. The Pelicans have the talent. They just need a coach with vision that can give them an identity and focus and everything. You know, everything besides this leaky mouth rhetoric that Willie Green talks about. And then on the opposite end of it, it's the health situation. The Pelicans, Gail Benson in particular, must take serious the fact that they have to get better technology and doctors for this health staff. We need to, just like you have these administrators that left, we need to bring in better doctors. We got to bring in bone specialists, soft tissue specialists, these type of people. And whatever we dealing with, we need to bring these people in to the health staff. We really do. If you want to see the Pelicans really thrive in the way we can see them going. All right, so anyway, that's going to do it for PPR Flash Report, man. We'll have more Pelican news and notes later on today. Later on tonight, we'll be doing the PPR Friday broadcast. We'll talk about the Pelicans. Me, DC, Lex will be in the building, and you will be here as well to kind of throw your thoughts and analysis on what should happen with the team. Do you agree with my thoughts on what's going on with the squad as well? If not, what do you think that the Pelicans need to do? Put it in the comment section. Let me know. Put your damn GM hat on and tell us, how do the Pelicans turn this around in one season? Let us know. With that being said, I'm Big Q. I'm going to holler at you on the flip side. Much love, and go Pelicans.
Subscribe now and stay up to date for all things New Orleans Pelicans.